Hello there, Board Game Maniacs, and thanks for joining me for another episode of this final theme month of 2020, Night of the Living Dead. We are going to talk about the different types of ghouls or zombies. You can call it whatever you want, but in the book it is called ghouls. They are called ghouls that you get in this game, Night of the Living Dead by Cool Mini or Not. It's a Zombicide edition. Hello there, Board Game Maniacs, and thanks for joining me for another episode of this final theme month of 2020, Night of the Living Dead. We are going to talk about the different types of ghouls or zombies. You can call it whatever you want, but in the book it is called ghouls. They are called ghouls that you get in this game, Night of the Living Dead by Cool Mini or Not. It's a Zombicide edition. First type of ghoul I want to talk about are the basic ones of the basics, which are the walkers. Now, the ones that are standing up before you are the walkers. You can see we have a walker. These are all walkers, even the other two. Now, this one here, let's see if we can get a better focus on her. She came in the expansion, it's called Dead of Night, and you get two different ghouls. One is a neighbor, and one is just a ghoul. This is a walker. It's a completely different sculpt than what you get in the core box. She's carrying an arm, and you can see here, she is nude completely, except for holding an arm. I'll turn it around here for a second. See the back of her, and that is it. She is one of the walkers. Even though she has a different sculpt, there's no special rules for her that I'm aware of. She's just a standard walker ghoul, just a different sculpt. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the other one, which is a standalone sculpt too as well in the into the core box. This one came in the core box, not the expansions. Could move the camera a little bit so you can get more of a better view. So with him, he definitely has a different pose, and it's, again, he's totally different than the other ghoul walkers, but again, he's classified still as a ghoul walker. This sculpt, I've watched the Night of the Living Dead, the original again, and I'm kind of pinpointing that I'm possibly that this ghoul is the one that was in the one of the ghouls in the beginning scenes into the cemetery. This is my guess, and made a big impression, so I decided to make a sculpt of this ghoul. Really cool for a ghoul. They're not that strong. For the walkers, these are the four different sculpts that you do get for each of the walker ghouls. Walker ghouls is the best way. You can't just call them walker zombies, because in Night of the Living Dead, the original, they do refer to them as ghouls, not zombies. With the ghouls, there are a couple of rules. Now, they're pretty much the same as any of the other walkers that are in the Zombicide game. So let me read this on page 17. It does say, walkers are the most common ghouls. They seem to be weak, but they find strength in numbers. Wounds dealt is 1. To eliminate a walker, it's a damage 1 weapon. Interesting about this, though, is that with these ghouls, these walker ghouls, I should say, that during their activation in the game, they only have one action, whether it's going to be to move or to attack. Just like the other zombies that are in the other one. So they do keep all of the rules the same, because if they're not in a square with the survivor for their one action, they're going to move into the square with the survivor if they're one adjacent to them in the other square. If they're already in the square, they will attack, and they automatically give you 1 wound, just like in the other Zombicide. There's nothing different about these. Now you can notice, when I first opened these, I was a little concerned because of this guy, this walker right here that got the laser pointer on. And the reason why, because he looked very, very, very familiar. Let's go in for a tighter look at him first. when I say it's very familiar, the reason why I say hopefully the camera's going to stay in focus onto this zombie is this Walker Ghoul resembles a lot like Maniac Lance from the channel. He looks so much like Board Game Maniac Lance, it's crazy. Like, look at it. Like, I could not get over the quality of these miniatures for number one that Cool Mean or Not has done with Guillotine Games and Image 10. But one thing, like I said, that I'm just overwhelmed with is how much this Walker Ghoul resembles Maniac Lance. Anyhow, let's go on for the different type of Walker. Next, we're going to talk about the Breakers. Won't be long before those things will be back, pounding their way in here. With Breakers, on page 17, you can see there's two different types of sculpts here for them, which is really cool. We got one guy holding a brick, and he looks pretty mean. And we have a lady holding a table leg, which is another really cool thing. And Breakers are completely different than the other Zombicide games because we don't have Breakers in other games. We have Zombicide games. We have some zombies that are like that, but they kind of serve a special purpose here in Night of the Living Dead. And it does say, bricks, clubs, rocks. Breakers use whatever they find as tools to open barricades and clear the way for ghoul activation. They deal 1 wound to eliminate its only damage 1 weapon. Special rules for them, because they do have special rules, the Breakers. Breakers may break closed barricades and closed doors, blocking their path towards survivors. So that is the purpose of a Breaker, because with Night of the Living Dead, one of the actions that a survivor can perform is by building barricades. So Breakers can, as said before, they can break closed doors and closed barricades too as well. The way that works, according to the rules for the Breakers though, is that if they are in a zone that contains both a barricade or a closed door and a survivor, the primary objective of the Breaker, because after all they are zombies, they will attack the survivor that is in the same zone as them. But if any of the survivors are not in the same zone, their priority is to bust open closed doors and barricades. Now what's interesting with these two as well, with the Breakers, is that from the book, what it does say that if they were in a zone that had 3 barricades or closed doors, or a mixture of both, they will open up not one, but all windows and all closed doors and barricades, which is pretty cool. So their action is kind of more than one action if they're in a zone with no survivors but closed doors and barricades. They would break open all of them, which is really cool and dangerous at the same time. I'm looking, the more and more I read this rule book, the more and more I can't wait to play this game on camera so everybody can see. So just be aware, the Breakers, they're 2 sculpts, they're holding a table leg or a brick, and their primary function is to break barricades and close doors open. But if they're survivors in their zone, they must use their one action to attack the survivor instead of breaking barricades. And no matter how many barricades or closed doors are in their zone, as their one action will bust them all open. Be aware of that. Let's go on to the next type of zombie or ghoul in this game, and that is the Fatties. I have to drag you out there and feed you to those things. Fatties on page 17. Born from the strongest yet dead citizens, Fatties are ghoul tanks. They ignore any damage but the most potent blows and can rip apart limbs effortlessly. Their sheer mass is enough to shield their lesser brethren. Wounds dealt 2 to eliminate damage 2 weapon. So these fatties are pretty much, they're close to the fatties in the other Zombicide games. Unlike the other rules in other Zombicide games, for Night of the Living Dead, when you spawn a fatty, you do not spawn 2 walkers with them. They are just spawned on their own. And you can see here they have 2 separate sculpts. One is with pants. You can see the guy with the pants here. Ooh, the pants. And we have the other one here with shorts, a swimming one. It's really, really funny because the George Romero zombie movies, I can't recall any of the fatties with shorts on for Night of the Living Dead, but for Return of the Living Dead, no, not Return of the Living Dead, my bad. For Dawn of the Dead, when they were in the mall, one of the fatties gets shot and he wore shorts and he fell into the fountain that was at the pool, which is pretty fun, not at the pool, at the mall, I should say. So that was pretty funny because they did have fatties. It was still George Romero, but even though I can't remember that in the original Night of the Living Dead, I do remember them in the other movie there. So that's really cool. So just to be aware of the wounds dealt is 2, and to eliminate you need a damage 2 weapon. They are exactly the same wounds and damage into the other Zombicide games. So let's go on to the next zombie. And these zombies are completely different. They've never been in any of the other Zombicide games, and that is relatives. The relatives, in the core box, you get 2 sculpts of relatives, and there's only 2 in the core box. You get 1 into the expansion, The Dead of the Night. So this guy here, you can see that the red light is on. He is in the core, as well as the little girl here. She, however, is in the expansion. So you probably know who this guy is right here. He is Johnny when he turns into a zombie from one of the survivors. Her right here is Helen, who turns into a zombie. Helen is the mother of this little girl here, Karen, who is another survivor. So they just choose these sculpts to represent the relatives, and relatives have special rules. First off, no, Johnny, somebody help me! Because Barbara's seen Johnny. Barbara's one of the survivors, and Johnny's one of the survivors, but in the movie, spoiler alert, beep, 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 Johnny gets killed and comes back as a ghoul, and Barbara just, is very upset over it. Really cool. But the special rules for the relative on page 17 too as well. Relatives are dear friends and family survivors once known that have turned into ghouls. Having them around has a deep impact on the survivors' morale, filling them with a sense of immediate doom. Dun, dun, dun. Wounds dealt is 1. To eliminate is 1. So they're same as like the Walker ghouls. Easy to eliminate, but the special rules for these are very bad. Special rules: as long as 1 relative or more is on the board, all survivors in Zombicide mode switch to Romero mode. These survivors switch back to Zombicide mode as soon as the board is clear of relatives. Be careful. The survivors' skills are altered as they switch IDs. So pretty much what that means is if you draw one of the spawn cards that will say relatives, you're going to spawn one of these lovelies right here, these one of 3 sculpts. Now, if you're using if you're using Johnny, Karen, or Helen, which you see in front of you as neighbors in the survivor group and they are not dead, then you would just use these as like other relatives with different names. So if Helen was on the board, you're not going to see a Helen relative right here. But you could still use that zombie because that's just another relative from one of the survivors. It's really cool though that they did make zombie-looking miniatures to reflect the miniatures of the survivors. But unfortunately, there's only 3 of them out of all of the survivors, which is a total of 9, I think, including the expansion. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 survivors. In in total from the core and the expansion. But anyhow, I'm kind of getting off track here. So with these relatives, they're going to drop the morale, and on the survivors cards, you do flip them over to the black and white version when they're on the board, which will give them a limited amount of skills that they have. It don't matter what level they're in, because their skills are going to be more limited than what they are when they're in Zombicide mode. So just be aware that these are the relative sculpts. And I'm thinking that is all the types of zombies or ghouls you get in this Night of the Living Dead box. Let's go for a wider shot to see them all once more. There you have it. All of the different types of ghouls that is included in both Night of the Living Dead and Night of the Living Dead Dead of Night expansion for Zombicide by Cool Mini or Not, Guillotine Games, and MH10. You can see here they're all piled, they're all kind of stacked up accordingly, and just so everybody knows, there's 54 ghouls, well, 54 plus 4, so 58 ghouls in total. We have 30 walkers, 12 breakers, 12 fatties, and 3 relatives. The relatives are not pictured here because I didn't set them up, but they are colored, and we already know who the relatives are for the for this. This is just the ghouls, and including the fatties and breakers. And that is it. So look for the next video where we go over each of the heroes that are included in both the expansion as well as the core game. And we talk about their abilities and what they have to offer to bring to the game to give you more of a uniform decision on who you want to use when you play Night of the Living Dead. I'll see you next time. Have some fun. Play some games. If you played this already, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the game, because I've never played it yet. I'm still going through the videos and the painting to get everything ready so we can go on camera, so we can play it for part of this theme month of December, for the last month for the year 2020. So until next time, Board Game Maniacs, most important of all is be a maniac and play some games and have some fun while you do it. And we'll see you on the flip side. Bye! Bye! Boo! Hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to keep up to date with Board Game Maniacs, click on the like and subscribe button to be notified when more videos come available. If you want to become an official sponsor of Board Game Maniacs, go to patreon.com/BoardGameManiacs. Or you can go to streamlabs.com/BoardGameManiacs1. That's right, and you can donate to help keep the lights on, keep food in our bellies, and play more games. We'll purchase more games, more equipment to make Board Game Maniacs evolve and get bigger and larger. Because of you, the viewers, I thank you from the bottom of my toes to the top of my head for all of your support. And until next time, Board Game Maniacs, be a maniac.